Wiley.
All right, we are live. Wanted to give a little extra time there. Hopefully get some viewers with us. But the Buffalo Bills had a very cold game on Sunday versus the New England Patriots. It was very cold. My fingers were hurting, and so were my toesies. But it was still a fun game to be at. And the Bills were able to take down the Patriots by the score of 24-21. The Bills spotted the Patriots 14 points. Once again, they struggle more in the first half than they do in the second half. I don't know why they have such a hard time in the first half, then make changes and make it better in the second half. That's been happening more than not this year. So hopefully they can work on that and get us playing right off the bat, not come out cold, as it was really cold. Anyway, some of the highlights of the game. James Cook, over 100 yards. That guy can run. He didn't even touch the ball that many times. I think he had like maybe 5 or 6 carries and still had 100 yards. Rushing on the long, I think it was 46-yard touchdown run. From my angle and my seat, straight ahead in the end zone, I actually called it. I saw that they had the right play called before the snap, and it was because Gilliam was to the left and Cook was in the backfield. I said, it's going Cook behind Gilliam, run. And then Gilliam crashed down onto the guy that Anderson was already blocking. Edwards made a great block. McGovern got left really fast, pulling and got an awesome block. And then Osiris Torrance went upper level and made a fantastic block. If your line is all blocking that well, you're going to get long runs. And then you give it to the fast guy and the guy that can cut and maybe make somebody miss. I don't even think he had to on this run, but he had a long touchdown run right there. And credit to the offensive line for making a great play to make sure that happened. So that was my highlight of the game because I called it before the play even started. And it's really, it looked like my seats look like the Madden angle if you play Madden. So you could see it straight on. Players that had good games, in my opinion, I thought Terrell Bernard had a good game on defense. And I thought Groot made some things happen. Well, obviously, he made one thing happen. They tried to run a running back screen against the Bills. It ended up being a lateral backwards, and Groot broke it up before the ball even got there. Then the ball was just laying around. Groot knocked down Stevenson, and unfortunately, he didn't recover the ball, but fortunately, Johnson did. So Johnson got credit for the touchdown. Johnson later in the game had a big head collision. I hope he's okay. He laid down for a while, and then they ran a play, and then the next play they made him leave the field for concussion protocol. He did go into the locker room. He came back out. I haven't actually seen an updated status on Taron Johnson at the moment, but obviously we need him, and we love Johnson, so hopefully everything is okay there. From the start of the game, how they got that 14-point lead, it was obvious that they were picking on some of the substitutions on defense, in particularly Balin Spector at linebacker. The linebackers at the end of a season, it just seems like deja vu over and over again that we play our linebackers too many snaps during the season, and then at the end of the season, we're missing them. So Dorian Williams, well, first of all, Matt Milano pulled his groin and he's out. I'm not sure if Dorian Williams wasn't playing better than Matt Milano anyway. I'd like to see more of Dorian Williams, and boy, was I screaming that at the top of my lungs at the game. Like they would make any change because a fan is yelling from the end zone. But, Dorian still did it. Dorian Williams has an elbow injury, and he's wearing a major brace on it. So I think they were trying to limit his snaps in this game so that he can be ready for the playoffs. But Spector just didn't look good. He's been playing with some, I think, calf muscle problems in one of his legs. And then during this game, he ended up hurting the calf on the other side. So they put him on injured reserve today. So we don't really matter what we all feel about whether he can play linebacker or not. He was playing injured. I like Balin Spector. I like everybody on the Bills. But Dorian Williams at this time is playing better football than Balin Spector. And you could see it when they were running plays right at him or where he was supposed to be and passing at him as well. So I felt for him out there. I think they were doing the same thing to Kaiir Elam and Cole Bishop. Elam had some pass interference penalties, but still getting handsy. I don't know how we can ever stop him from being handsy. I think it might even be a confidence issue. He has the talent. He has the speed, but boy, does he get handsy getting those pass interference penalties. Cole Bishop, I thought for a rookie, played very well at the safety position. He's improving. You can see it every week, but really isn't a starter quality yet. So we would like to get Taylor Rapp and DeMar Hamlin back so that we can have our true starting safeties out there. So to everybody that's dogging the defense, realize that there's a lot of injuries on that side of the ball. Rasul Douglas, we'd love to have him back too. So hopefully, Coach McDermott did say this week that a lot of the guys on that side of the ball, or a lot of guys that were injured this week, seem to be getting better and progressing well. So as we take on the Jets this Sunday, hopefully, excuse me, we'll have some of those guys back. And props to Dorian Williams for coming in with an injured elbow and playing as well as he did in the second half. He was wreaking havoc out there as well. So, and Von Miller, I thought Von Miller made some plays too. He didn't actually get sacked per se, but it's not always about the stats. He put on a spin move in that game that had him right on top of the quarterback. The quarterback had to throw the ball away. Speaking of the quarterback, Drake May is a good quarterback, unfortunately. We hate to see good quarterbacks playing for the New England Patriots or for any team in the AFC East other than the Buffalo Bills. I guess the Jones era is definitely over, as it was fun to see him playing for the Patriots. But now they've got Drake May. And what Drake did really, really well in this game is when he felt pressure, he threw the ball away. And he was really good at that. He did not take sacks. He had a sack, but he should have had a lot more sacks if he wasn't willing to throw the ball away. And they had pressure on him, but he was willing to throw the ball away. And I thought he did a good job at that. Sometimes throwing the ball away is the best thing you can do. So he did that, Drake May. And after the 14 points, the Bills scored 24 unanswered to win the game. The last touchdown by the Patriots, the Bills are playing a defense that's trying to run the clock out too. So, and then they recovered the onside kick, and they ran play after play after play to Johnson. So I'm not quite sure if that was Ty Johnson. They pitched it left and got a first down. So then they went out and pitched it again, and he gained some yards. And they pitched it again left. Every time, pitch left, pitch left. Usually at the end of a game, you're trying to run out the clock, you hand the ball off just for ball security purposes. But I think part of that would have been Josh Allen's hand, his broken left hand, which I don't know why this made such big news this week that he has a broken left hand. He's been playing with a broken left hand. Have you seen what he's been wearing on his hand? We've all known he's had a broken left hand for a while. I mean, it isn't rocket science. So, yeah, that was just silly. I see your comment, Bills versus Vikings in the Super Bowl. I would love that. I predicted preseason Bills versus Lions in the Super Bowl, but I want a team that has never won a Super Bowl this year to win a Super Bowl. So Bills, Lions, Bills, Vikings, either way is fine with me. Most importantly, I want the Bills in there. So on offense, it was more about the run. I think that we can conclude a little bit here on Dome Stadium versus non-Dome Stadium. The last 2 weeks, Josh Allen has put up amazing numbers playing in the Dome, and then we go out and play in the cold, and he gets a stinger in the cold, and I know the cold weather's got to play a hand in that because, like I said, my fingers were hurting. So if he had a stinger type thing going on with his hand, it's just not going to recuperate as quick in the cold weather. So I think Josh had a problem with that. Trying to get better, but to be able to go back on the field. Before I forget, I do want to send out some Christmas wishes here. Very Merry Christmas to everyone on this Christmas Eve. And I know it's a hard time during the year for several people who are alone at Christmas time and don't feel love. But if you need to reach out to someone today, please feel free to reach out to me because I'd love to hear from you. And I do care about everyone that's one of my subscribers or just watching this video. So if you are watching the video, please like and subscribe and hit that bell notification button. But because every time we hit the bell notification button, an angel gets his wings. Anyway, yeah, so just to make sure everybody knows, I know a few people that have committed suicide, unfortunately, and I just want everyone to know that like I say at the end of every video, God loves you, and so do I. With that, go Bills. Other things that I wanted to make sure and talk about here with the team, the offensive line, run blocking, fantastic. Josh did have some pressure sometimes during this game. I thought he wouldn't have quite as much pressure, but, for the most part, the offensive line played really well on the pass too. And, so I think I talked about most of the things that I really wanted to bring up. Good, the bad, the worst part, beyond giving up the 14 points to start the game, special teams. I mean, are we beating a dead drum yet that this special teams and I called into the Steve Tasker show too to ask this question. How do we fix the mistakes or the miscommunications that seem to be happening over and over again? Talking about last year, too many players on the field goal that cost us a win. This year, we have 9 players, not even 10, 9 for a punt block situation. And then this game, McDermott admits after the game that he had punt return on, that the team had punt return on instead of defense. That's just so frustrating. And I was yelling from the seats, we've got to watch the fake. We got to watch the fake. If I could see these things in the seats, a coach needs to know it. And it's so frustrating. It is so, so frustrating as a fan to see special teams mistakes. And I'm not talking about offsides. That happens. I'm not talking about, blocks in the back. We think those will happen. I'm talking about mistakes that are easily correctable. And it seems to be a communication problem. And, I was a Coach Smiley fan until this stuff has just become so evident. So evident. And I don't want to fire a coach this late in the season. I mean, for heaven's sakes, we've only got 2 regular season games left. But McDermott's got to keep one eye over there now if he's the problem. I mean, we've got to fix these things. So not wanting to be too negative here on Christmas Eve, but yeah, that's something that's got to be fixed because we're going into the playoffs. And if a special teams play causes us a game in the playoffs, I think Bills fans might burn down Highmark. Anyway, stadium, I mean, the home of the Buffalo Bills currently. And I wish it was going to always be. But anyway, on to autographs. I was able to get my selfie picture that I got, I think it was last year. It's in the open here that you saw there. Khalil Shakir was nice enough to come over. I had a hard time getting this out of my folder because the plastic was actually breaking because it was so cold. My folder took some damage on this photo. The plastic actually snapped and broke because it was so cold. And I said to Shakir, I'm sorry, it's so cold. I can't get the picture out. And he said, I know it's cold. That's why I wanted to get in the locker room. But he was nice enough to stay out and sign this. Khalil Shakir, I told him how proud I am of him as well because he has just, over the last few years, has really blossomed into a quality wide receiver and a threat for the Buffalo Bills. I mean, he's really become a great player. And then off our practice squad, and he had a fantastic training camp this year. I hope that he continues to develop and that we can actually put him on the roster next season. Terrell Shavers, he came over and signed. It's a little hard to see where he signed it. You can see it right there in the red because it mixes in with the crowd. But Terrell came over. I'm amazed that I actually knew who it was because he had the jackets on and the hat and the face thing. I mean, you could only see his eyes, but I still knew who it was, and I got him to come over. And then the final coach that I wanted to get for the coaches part of my wall here is Kromer, our offensive line coach, Aaron Kromer. And he came over, signed this for me. I told him to keep up the great work because the offensive line has really looked fantastic this year, and he is doing an awesome job, and he appreciated that. And then this week's Legend of the Game came over and signed an autograph for me as well. He was actually on the pretty far away from me, but saw this picture and came over and said, that is dope, because it's a picture of my wife and I at his show, his show that they had on there with Max Kellerman on ESPN. And this was 10 years ago I took this picture. And then I put a picture of Marcellus when he played for the Bills in there. He was really pumped to see this. He held the whole binder and signed the autograph. He said a few times, that is so dope. His son did not look quite as happy about it. I don't think he wanted to be out in the cold. Those guys came from California, I think. So those kids were cold, and he was not very happy to be out on the field. But Marcellus did kick off the game for us. I thought he did a good job. Peerless Price is still the best one at it this year. He just was a legend of legends on the field when he kicked it off versus the Kansas City Chiefs this season. So the Bills do have a lot of injuries, and hopefully we can get some of those fixed before Sunday, because you know that the New Jersey Jets are going to come into town and they're going to want to win the game and hurt the Bills' chances of keeping the 2 seed or even possibly getting the 1 seed. Now, the game's on Christmas Day, the 1 o'clock kickoff with the Kansas City Chiefs game and versus the Steelers. You know, we're in a win-win situation there. If the Steelers lose, it's going to help us keep that 2 seed. Still worrying about Baltimore as the only other team that could catch us to take the 2 seed away from us. And if the Chiefs lose, there's still a possibility of the Christmas miracle of catching them and becoming the 1 seed. So either way, with that game, we're good. And then the second game, Baltimore versus Houston. We definitely want Houston to win that game because Baltimore can catch us. Houston cannot for the 2 seed. And if Houston loses and Pittsburgh loses, then I think we're locked into the 2 seed, and the last 2 games won't mean anything at all. So we'll see what happens here. If that happens, if those 2 things do happen on Christmas Day, I would anticipate Mitch Trubisky playing and Nicholas Morrow, who they just signed at linebacker. I mean, you're going to see all those guys that are even partly injured not play. We're going to have mass call-ups from the practice squad. But we'll see what happens, though. We'll see what happens. We don't need to make a video about that until after Christmas as we see what happens on Christmas Day. So, a cold win. We all thought it was going to be a bigger win, but a win is a win. It doesn't matter if you win by 50 or you win by 1. Bring home the W. Big dubs. And enjoy it because the Jets are coming. On to the Jets for next week. So with that, the biggest reminder I can give you on Christmas Eve is please always remember, God loves you. He does. God loves you. And so do I. Go Bills.
Wiley. Wiley.